It is a story that reads like a soap opera. Brandon, the handsome firefighter, falls in love with the lovely Amy. They marry and have beautiful children. Then, the teenage nanny moves in, and Brandon has an affair with her while Amy's recovering from having a baby. There are many twists and turns to this story. Restraining orders, courtroom dramas, more nannies coming forward with claims that Brandon had inappropriate behavior with them too. He denies that. We started to unfold all of this last time. Here's what we've covered so far.
My husband had an affair with our children's nanny.
Our nanny was very pretty at the time.
When I first found out about Brandon's infidelity, I was hysterical. I was devastated. She was like our daughter. She was only 18 years old.
She was always saying, you know, oh, you're so hot, and building me up, and it just became real easy to flirt with her.
Knowing that it went on under my roof while I was here healing from just having a baby was too much for me to even handle.
He's got his kids in the house, his wife in the house, his wife's best friend in the house, and he's the nanny.
She made passes at me and the flirting happened, and it's something that went on.
That is completely false.
The nanny says you drugged her and then forced yourself on her.
That's absolutely not true.
Did you give her painkillers?
No.
I've seen him physically put them in her mouth.
Maybe it's just that I'm kind of country, but that's going to send off a warning bell with me.
So we find out that Brandon has been sleeping with another nanny who had written Amy an email describing the whole seduction. Oh, you slept with Brandon. Oh, well, so does everyone else, so I guess just take a number.
I've had one affair since we've been married, and that was with our nanny.
If she has a shred of self-dignity, she will not take him back.
Nanny number 2 wrote you a letter that said he came on to her as well.
Correct.
And that you asked her to talk dirty to you, said that you loved her, said she was the one.
That's false.
There was always very violent behavior coming from Brandon.
He punched holes in the wall.
Brandon told me that if Amy doesn't shape up, she's going to be put into a concrete block and no one would ever find her.
In March of this year, I filed a restraining order against Brandon. He told me he was going to kill me.
I've never threatened my wife's life, ever.
How's your temper? Because you had problems with it before, right?
I mean,
In fact,
I've never
you
been
knocked
violent.
down every door in the house, right?
That's something that happened 7 years ago. Amy cheated on me with one of my friends one time.
Not true.
I admit to having the first affair.
So you think he's changed?
I do.
And you think he's full of it?
Yeah, I do.
Did you ever come on to her?
Look me in the face and tell me that you never have.
I made a stupid comment.
What was the stupid comment? How do you know it was
It's so
stupid?
foul, you don't even want to hear it.
No.
That's not true.
I wouldn't make
That's
that
not
up.
true. Heidi, I think that you're hideous looking. I wouldn't lay a finger on you. I've never been attracted to you.
That's
You can
fine.
ask my wife.
If you weren't
I don't even think
attracted
that you're
to me,
pretty
I don't care if you're
or
attracted
cute
to me
or
at all.
anything. Why would I want to make a
Well, then why would you make a
physical
pass at
pass?
me?
Because
Why
I
would
was
you
drunk
say
off my
anything?
tail.
I
You
don't.
guys can point the finger at me all you want. He's a name caller. He's a name caller.
I
Ridiculous.
call you the names that you are.
That's why I call you a whore, because that's
fine.
what you
if
are.
That's what you think, then that's
Yeah.
fine.
I have not seen this since we have spent time together. This is the first time I've seen the old Brandon come out.
What you haven't seen yet are the shocking accusations from other nannies. Now, there was a third nanny, well, actually, and a fourth and a fifth. So you supposedly told the third nanny that you wanted her to perform oral sex on you, and you said, quote, "Why go for the good-looking ones when bigger girls do it better?"
I kind of responded. That's not even true at all.
Nanny number 4 said that you said to her, "Come to the bedroom and I'll make you feel good." Nanny number 5 says that you cornered her in the pantry and said, "No paycheck unless you perform oral sex on me, and I want to perform oral sex on you."
Those are all false.
Do they know each other?
The first one is true. I admit to having the first affair.
Okay,
Those
now
other-
Nanny 3, 4, and 5, do they know each other?
They didn't.
They would all know
other.
each
They did
other.
not
Would
know
they?
each other.
It kind of seems odd when independent people come up with a real similar story. I mean, how did Nanny 5 come up with a story that's pretty much like Nanny 3
No,
and 4,
I'm not
and even
saying
similar to 2? Well, 2's kind of close to 4, and 5 is similar to 1.
Yes,
I do admit to the one, but you know, 5.
But you understand,
come on.
a nanny agency, that's not like a dating service. Okay, now, what is it you know for sure that's happened so far in this marriage that causes you real concern?
I know for sure he has had anger problems in the past. I know for sure he had an affair with one of our nannies. I know for sure that he has propositioned at least one nanny other than the nanny he had the affair with.
How do you know that for sure?
She told me, and I believe her.
Okay, and he says that's not true.
Correct.
So you don't believe him?
No.
He's saying that she had a crush on him and was jealous because of his involvement with the other nanny, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's your assessment. You don't know what she's thinking.
I don't know.
But that's your assessment. Does that seem odd to you that a second nanny is telling lies to your wife because she's jealous of your involvement with another nanny? Isn't it odd that this second nanny feels so involved with you that she thinks she has the right to be jealous of your affair with somebody else?
It just depends on how she was feeling at that time. Maybe there was a day that I was upset with Amy or something, and I met up with her and talked to her or something like that, and I vented. I don't know.
Were you flirting with her?
Yeah, and I told you, I used to have a real flirty mentality, you know, that's just how I used to be, but I know
Did you flirt with the other 3 that have made those allegations? Since you were flirty?
I may have. I don't remember doing it, but I may have. I don't know. You know,
Okay.
I used to do a lot of flirting. I mean, that's just used to be my demeanor, is to flirt. But
So what's your take on this? I mean, he's talking about, I then used to be this way, I'm now this way. What do you think?
Well, he's
I
called
mean, you
me
know them both.
names.
You've been around through all of this.
Even today, he's sitting here calling me names, and I'm not surprised, Dr. Phil. This is how it is. So what Amy says is true. I haven't been around Brandon. I don't know. All I do know is
Well,
that
you're around him now. I mean, you
it
know,
has not changed one bit.
he called you a whore.
Yeah.
And
Did I look surprised?
actually, no. No. Just seemed to roll right off your back.
Yep.
Don't see any change, and that's what concerns me, is because this is our real life. We're here on the show today, though. Those babies are a part of me. I'm not going to be able to be a part of their life because of this man here. I'm not going to.
yeah, their father.
Yeah.
But you are not a member of their family.
That's fine. I am a
And
member
me and
of
Amy
the
have
family.
been getting
She is-
along a lot better
Heidi is
without
a-
you around.
Heidi is a sister to me, and she is going to be a part of my life and a part of my children's lives.
Well, she hasn't been because she hasn't been talking to you because you've been hanging out with him.
Right, and something has to change.
I cannot
Something has
stand
to.
behind her decision to be with him. I will not stand behind your decision to be with him.
And I will not keep the kids from you.
We're talking to Brandon and Amy, who says he's a changed man from the days of having an affair with their teenage nanny, violent behavior, prompting a lot of people in Amy's life to testify in court against Brandon. Now, you got to give Brandon credit. He is here. He didn't have to be here, but he's here. Now, they say they want to get back together, but Amy also has put it in my hands to tell her what I think.
Well, something is going to have to work out because I completely
So what do you want
disagree.
him to do? What do you want him to do?
I want you to stay away from Amy for a period of time, however long that takes, for you to actually change, if that is indeed possible for you to change. And I want Dr. Phil to give all of us tools. I know that I need tools. I'm not perfect, and my role in the situation can be better too. I don't think the two of you need to be married, though I do think that you guys can co-parent.
But you don't think this is going to happen? You don't think he's changed?
No.
And you don't think he's going to change?
He
Truth
called
be told.
me a whore 5 minutes ago.
How do you feel about that?
I feel upset and distraught, and those kids are
How
my
do you
life.
feel about that? I mean, was that something you said in anger, or is that something, are you
Oh, I feel
still
like
good with that?
No, I feel like I'm being ambushed on the show.
Who's ambushing you?
I just feel like everything is being directed towards me, and
Let's just be honest about this, okay? You had an affair with your nanny.
right.
And if there are two people on the face of this earth that know that ain't the only one, it's you and me. Okay? Mm-hmm. So you know when you come here that you're going to have some hard questions to answer.
Correct.
Now, an ambush means, oh, gee, I thought we were going to a picnic. And now there seems to be somebody behind every rock with a rifle. And being defensive about it isn't helping.
But my point is that I have not been defensive. I've taken accountability for everything that I've done until I get around with Heidi, because I feel like these two collaborate and they start.
We haven't spoken, Brandon. We don't collaborate.
The other day, Heidi came over to the house to grab something. I don't remember what it was, and we had talked about, because I'm a poor money manager. So we had talked about, me giving my paychecks to Amy and her managing my money. And the first thing that Heidi says is, well, do you really think that Amy should manage your money, because she's not good with it either? And then Amy will say something bad about Heidi, but they never ever say anything bad to each other's face, but it happens, but I don't run to Heidi and sit there and tell her everything. I don't need to, but they do.
I have a hard time believing that.
So do I.
But does that change the fact that you slept with your teenage nanny?
No, you keep bringing that up, but what else do you want me to do? I've admitted to it. You've asked me that question 20 times. Let's move on to something that's going to get me some help. This is something that happened, all these statements are from 2 years ago. This is stuff that happened 2 years ago. It's not, I just didn't do it last week. Hey, I slept with my nanny, everybody. I did it. It was 2.5 years ago. I did it. Yeah, and that's why I decided to come on the show, is to get your help to resolve my marriage. And that's why I've been continuing to go get counseling.
Yeah. All right.
Amy provides this kind of lifestyle that Brandon could not provide for himself. She pays for all of his things. His livelihood depends on him being shifty and manipulative so that he can weasel himself back in with Amy and her parents so that he's living the high life again.
Well, Amy described her marriage as devastatingly terrible after she discovered her husband Brandon was having an affair with their teenage nanny. Now, it's 6 months into the divorce, and Amy says that she's had a change of heart. Amy's mom says she is scared of Brandon and what he might do. Take a look.
When I found out that Brandon and Amy were going to get a divorce, I was happy. We were pretty surprised at Amy wanting to do the Dr. Phil show because we thought that we were finished with the whole situation with Brandon. I've been dealing with Brandon for the past 7 years. He never goes away.
And I'm not surprised that he had a relationship outside of marriage, because he's trying to portray himself as being very physically fit, very good looking. I don't care how handsome he is, and I don't care how nice his hair looks. What I care about is how he treats his family.
Brandon has a dark side. The word I'd probably use would be evil. It's a scary side. He is an owner of several automatic weapons. He brought home a pellet gun. He did for fun shoot one of the nannies, and she had a big welt and a huge bruise on her leg. He thinks that's funny. Amy claims he's always hated us. I'm still afraid of Brandon. I had to go on anti-anxiety medications. My husband and I are supporting Amy financially.
For 2 years, we've had constant calls from Amy. I need more money. We need more money.
It has cost anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 a month, and the most expensive part has been the nannies. I've even thought about buying him out, but nothing's ever enough for Brandon. If Amy decides to go back with Brandon, we're going to have to cut her off financially.
What do you think about what her parents have to say?
Well, it's kind of disturbing to me that her parents feel that I hate them, because I've never, ever hated them. Again, it's stories that Amy tells me that her parents feel about me, and I'm sure that Amy tells her parents that I hate them, which has never been the case. I've gone on a couple motorcycle rides with their dad, and I've always gotten along with him for the most part, and
Well, these are her parents right here, Cindy and Mont. You fear for Amy's safety.
I do.
Tell me why.
I just think he's an explosion waiting to happen. I just don't think Amy should be with him.
So, Dad, are you concerned for your daughter's safety?
Maybe not to the same extent that my wife is, but I might just make a couple of comments. I have never been adamantly opposed against Amy getting back with Brandon. Now, that being said, I've seen nothing at all on this show in the way that he's reacted to questions or how he's responded with your group that leads me to believe that he in any way has changed.
What did you, what's your response?
I think that me having the pressure of being on the stage is hitting me pretty hard.
But Dr. Phil, life is pressure. There's pressure at work. There's pressure when you go home and he has 2 bawling kids. If he can't handle pressure here in this relatively nice setting, what makes me believe that he's going to handle pressure at home? There is pressure everywhere in life.
You've had some hard questions. You have. She's made accusations about you and who you are. Your wife has contested a number of the things that you've said. I've been bending over so far backwards, my bald head's damn near on the ground, trying to give you every opportunity to say everything that you want to say. Because let me tell you, you know, as the old saying goes, when you do the crime, you do the time. Maybe this is a time where you stand up and deal with the reality, the pain, the hurt, the disruption, the fear, the problems that have spun out of behavior that you describe yourself as being selfish and didn't care what anybody thought, and it was just all about you. And you've been to a therapist, right?
Yes.
And your therapist tells you what? Right?
This is a pattern.
This is a pattern that whenever he gets in a bind,
Yes.
then, as is often described as consistent with sociopathic personalities, is they're not sorry for what they did, they're sorry they got caught, and they'll say anything and do anything in the moment to try to get back in your good graces.
Yes.
Like I found God.
Yes. That was one of them.
That
Yes.
was one that your therapist
Yes.
identified as a problem, correct?
Correct.
And I've got hepatitis C, so I need your help and support in the hospital. Just anything
Yes.
that draws you back in.
Correct.
You've been warned about that, right?
Yes.
Is that true?
Is what true?
Is it true that you manipulate in that way? Have you
In the past,
told
I have.
her
Yes, I have, in
what
the
she
past.
what
In
you
the
thought
past,
she
in the
needed to
past.
hear to get back in?
Yes, in the past I have, but what's not being clear here is that I did not contact her this time. That's not being said. She got the restraining order.
Well, if it's not being said, it's because you ain't saying
Okay,
it.
well,
You got a
I'm telling
mic.
you,
Say what you got to say.
I'm not the one that made the initial contact to see her. She contacted me, and I agreed to meet up with her because I
That is
had not.
true.
Well, now wait a minute. Look, some things are black and white. Who initiated this re-involvement?
I wanted nothing to do with him. He contacted me through his father, through his biological mother, and for a good 2 months they begged me to just talk to him, just to see how different he is. And for 2 months I said, "You are crazy."
Did you
He's
put them up
tricking
to
you."
that?
No.
Did you ask them to talk to her?
No, and I did not.
Did you know they were talking
the
to her?
time that yes.
Were they reporting back to you what she said?
Yeah, but that was one of the limitations of the restraining orders, that we could do that for the sake of the kids.
Have you threatened her before that if she didn't let you back in, that she would have hell to pay?
No. No, I didn't contact her.
No, I'm saying ever. When you've been out, have you ever said, "You let me back in here or you're going to pay"?
I don't recall saying anything like that.
Do you recall that?
Oh yes.
When the cops were called on you for a violent episode by her brother, did you tell her, "You can never get me. I'm going out drinking with these cops when they get off duty today"?
I don't recall that happening, but I mean, You know, I have an old phone that she threw in that she busted of mine. She took a phone and threw it, busted it on the ground. When I was talking to a guy that she had the affair with, that was a buddy of mine that I no longer talk to. And I'll give you his phone number. And the last 3 nannies that worked for us actually testified. They're afraid to testify against her in court. And not only that, her own family, not those two, but her aunt and uncle, testified against her in court on my behalf.
But impeached him.
Boy, doesn't this make you wonder what kind of house these children are growing up in? And
you know, so you can point the finger at me all you want, but the fact of the matter is,
I'm not talking about
not
just you. I'm talking
me.
about the whole thing, and why Amy's mother and best friend says Brandon's discipline crosses the line. Amy and Brandon have been talking about putting their marriage back on track and raising their children together. Amy's best friend, sometimes former best friend, sometimes current best friend, says that she worries about Brandon's discipline. Take a look.
Brandon is a horrible father. He is neglectful, checked out, he's playing video games.
I'm a good involved father. I'm very loving.
He is more of a drill sergeant. Let's pull your hair to toughen you up.
He would hang Courtney off of the second-story balcony.
Brandon is very rough with the children. It's abuse, pure and simple.
No parent is perfect.
I've seen him making Courtney do 100 push-ups, hosing down Courtney in the backyard on a cold day when she's gotten in trouble.
I'm sure that I have emotionally hurt the children not knowing that what I'm doing at that particular time.
I'm so beyond angry with Amy right now because of the choices that she's made in regards to Brandon. This woman is not able to look into her children's eyes and say, wow, you're paying the price more than I ever will.
I don't want to let my sons down. I don't want them in 20 years to sit there and say, oh, my dad's a jerk. My hope is for me and Amy to be good parents and role models for our children.
If Dr. Phil truly believes it is in the kids' best interest for us not to be together, then I will take his word and I will choose to do that.
Are they wrong to be concerned?
Yes.
She said he is abusive with his children. Do you really mean that?
I really mean that. He's got her mind so twisted up that she doesn't have the backbone to say, hey, you know what? You are not right for me. You're not right for the kids. You've got to go.
I do disagree with that, though. I was like that before, though now, since we have been talking, he does not treat the kids like he used to.
And he doesn't call me a whore or call you a whore.
Oh, he still calls you a whore. Don't get me wrong, he still does that.
So
but
that
as far
same
as the
person
kids,
is not raising the kids.
it's hard to explain because he is not acting how he acts at home.
Because he is manipulating you, Amy. This is the whole
I'm nice to Amy at home.
Story.
I don't like it that you're here.
Of course he is. Of course you are, because you
debate.
want to get back into the household and for Mont and Cindy to support you guys. That is what you want. That is your best
Hey, you know what? If me and Amy
situation.
get married, they're going to be paying more for medical bills than they could ever imagine. My health insurance covers more of her surgeries than anything else. And the money thing,
would my
whatever.
parents have to pay for it?
Well, because your dad's
Okay,
such
let's
a
get back
kind-hearted
to
gentleman that
what I'm saying
he
to
only wants to
Amy
do
is
everything that's
that
right for you.
I am concerned about you because you don't stand up for yourself
And I
you
haven't
take him
in the
back.
past. You are correct, 100%.
And when we go home from here, is anything going to be different? Am I wasting my
Are
time?
you concerned about his interaction with the children in the past?
Yes.
Were you inappropriate with the kids in the past? Were you too harsh? Did you do things you shouldn't do?
I did squirt her with the water hose a couple of times as something that, you know, instead of spanking or whipping or anything like that,
Well,
or
how
go
did
get a
that,
switch.
describe that for me. What do you mean squirt her with the hose?
I wouldn't hit her with the garden hose. I just turn on the water and I sprayed her down.
And spray her down
with water,
with the hose?
With water.
While she's screaming.
Where were you when this was going on?
At the time, I chose to believe what he told me, that he was in the Navy and that this was a safe way to punish a child, to get them wet, that it doesn't hurt them.
Because I'm getting ready to put some verbs in my sentences, and so I want to know where you were at the time. You were physically there.
Yes.
And watched your husband take your daughter into the backyard and spray her down with the hose.
At the time, I was convinced that that was better than hitting her. I was convinced of that.
Here's a bulletin. Those aren't your only two choices.
Right. Those are the two choices I had. I didn't
And I didn't know any better either.
I chose to not look and find, is this abusive?
This is a child that I adopted.
What, Mom, Dad?
I was crazy. I'm telling you, I was in denial. I didn't know. That's not okay, or this isn't okay.
I have said to you so many times, open your eyes. Do you see what's happening? Do you see what's going on?
I couldn't see it until
I've
he
said
left.
that so many times. And
But I
now
couldn't
here we
hear
are in
it.
the
Something
same
happened 5 years ago.
situation. We're here sitting in the same situation. Open your eyes.
But my eyes are open now.
Really? And you're going to take him back?
Okay,
No, no, I am not. Not if he's like this, absolutely not.
You just pointed out that, again,
No.
this was 5 years ago. Yeah. So how old was your daughter at the time you were doing this?
Just 5. Do you guys not let your kids play in a kiddie pool in the backyard? The water, the temperature of the water was
very
no different.
That's very
This
different.
is Oregon. Have you been to Oregon, Dr. Phil?
Now I know the
water is
difference
cold.
between what is okay and what is not okay. My kids are
Right,
filthy.
and I grew up in January where my dad would take me out and throw me in the river. I didn't know any better. You know, when I was 4 and 5 years old, and I'm going out and swimming in a creek that's 55 degrees. That's something that I did that was fun. I didn't know any better.
You did that for fun. You weren't being hosed down.
Do you ever wonder what else you don't know any better than?
My whole point of coming on this show is that I know that there's 6 billion people on this earth, and I used to do everything by myself because I thought my way was the right way because I was selfish and immature. But now I know that many people on this earth, I can pull a little bit from everybody.
And I would hear
to
from
be a
his
better
mom
person.
and dad that, oh, that's what we did to him. This is what we do.
You're probably wondering what Amy's thinking about here. Heidi has a theory on why Amy chooses guys that do some of the things that Brandon does.
My initial impression of Amy was that she must be a pig magnet. In a room full of 100 men, there could be 99 upstanding, loyal men, and there is one pig in the room. One. Makes no money, total leech, and who will she go home with that night? The pig.
I love you.
What is your theory?
About the pig magnet?
Yeah.
I believe that you attract men that abuse you, and then to keep returning after time and time and time again that these abuses are happening. I think your brain is twisted.
Whatever reason that she might have behind that, are you concerned that maybe you are like the queen of denial, that you are just naive Nellie here that just believes what you want to be true?
Yes, I go to counseling every week to keep me on track. I don't want to fall into the same pattern that I have before.
Because, you know, I believe you teach people how to treat you, and I'm just not sure that you just totally get that and stand up for yourself.
I had no boundaries before.
Well, let me give you some. Do you think you're ready to go back into this relationship? Do you think the two of you could hammer it out? A lot of work, of course.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have come on the show if I didn't.
So you think you're ready to do that?
To do that, correct.
Okay. You just called your wife's best friend a whore on national television. And then you defended calling her a whore on national television. I asked you after the fact, on reflection, did you think that was okay? He said, well, you know, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Do you really think that's okay?
I don't think
even if you believe it, and I'm not saying that you are. I know that you're not. I know that you're, no, I know that. But even if that were true, is there any part of you that says, you know, that's just not the best behavior to display when I'm here trying to show my newfound maturity? I mean,
no, absolutely not. But that's the thing, though. It's like I act a certain way when I'm just with her and my family, but when me and her get around each other, it's just.
Yeah, I know.
It's basically flame on.
You know, it's like your father-in-law says. You know, there is pressure here, but there's going to be pressure at home too. You did that, and then you defended it not once but twice.
You know, there's been days where I've delivered babies that have died my arm, where I've come home and been perfectly fine. Who in here has done that? Where I've seen 3 or 4 people burned to death, and I've pulled them out of a house.
Choose for a job.
But that's pressure. If you guys want to understand pressure, go deal with that, and then come home and switch that gear. Of course, I'm going to come home and have bad days.
When we asked you about the affair with the teenage nanny, you said, she was a slut, she came on to me. What's a guy going to do when you're walking down the hall and she's unzipping your pants? I mean, come on.
He told me a totally different story.
Well, that's what you told us, right? We have it on tape.
Right.
Of you
Yeah,
saying
I
that.
totally remember saying all that.
Does that seem to you to be blaming someone else for your bad decisions, for your bad acts? Does it seem to be saying, it wasn't me, it was her?
What else is on that tape, though? What do you mean you don't know? You didn't screen the whole...
Yes, what is...
on the whole tape, I
No,
also
hold on a
took
minute.
accountability. I took
Hold on a
50%
minute.
of accountability on that. I said,
50%?
yeah, half of it was my doing.
Half of nothing.
It does not take two to tango.
No,
I
you're
mean,
talking
come
to
on.
me. You're talking to me, not her. Now, you just wanted to get up on your hind legs and challenge me. And I said, what do you mean you don't know? You didn't screen the whole tape? Yeah,
You didn't give
Excuse
your
me.
audience...
I did screen the whole tape. Yes, I saw the part where you said it was 50-50. And I'm telling you, it ain't 50-50. It's 100-0. You're married. You're married, Brandon. If you have another encounter with someone that really comes on to you big time, are you going to say, hey, what's a guy to do?
No, I mean...
Well, why? What's happened since you gave us that interview? What's happened since you gave us an interview?
Because also on that tape, I said that's something that's happened, 2-3 years ago, and I have gotten the
But your
counseling help.
analysis of it was now. Your analysis of it now was, she came on to me, 50-50 deal.
Because I wouldn't do that now. I don't need anybody else. And I understand that. I just want my wife and my family. There's several things that happened to me as a child that I really didn't want to blame on anything. And, me growing up, I did some things that I wasn't proud of. But, it was hard. It's hard to be a man, especially, when you got as much pride as somebody does. And that's why I push my pride away. What can I do for me to benefit my family, my wife, my kids, and move on from that?
We've been unraveling a complicated story, and it comes down to whether or not Amy should reconcile with Brandon. I mean, is it time to get back together, or is it not? Heidi, I hugely disagree with something you said. You said he's the devil incarnate. That's not true. Let me tell you what I believe. I think people do the best they can with what they have at the time. I know a lot more about you than you probably realize I know. And you've not had a good run through this world. You've had some tough stuff in your life, and it's caused you to see the world in a pretty distorted way. And I don't think you asked for that at the time. I think you would have loved to have grown up in a wonderful Brady Bunch house. I think you would have loved that more than anything. But you didn't. And now you are paying the price for all of that. I've said a million times, when you parent your children, you write on the slate of who they are. And someone wrote some really ugly things on the slate of who you are. They gave you some warped values, didn't they? They gave you some things that at the time, when you got testosterone flowing through your veins and you're young and you're out there and you're just trying to, find a way to feel good in the moment, you made some really stupid decisions. Agreed?
Yeah.
And what you're doing now is seeing that everything that you care about is falling away from you for that. And so you're saying, okay, I don't want to do that. But here's the problem. He doesn't know what to do instead. It's absolutely not fair to you. This is not an evil person. This is a damaged person. And the fact is, if you two go back together right now, your chance of surviving as a couple is less than 0. Your chance of damaging your children is 100%, because they're going to witness the meltdown between the two of you.
Yes.
Life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. I'm more interested in where you are a year from now than where you are a week from now. You, Brandon, whether it's for her or somebody else, you can learn to be the man that you need to be. You've had 7 years of trouble. You're not going to fix it with 2 weeks or 2 months of soul searching. You have every reason in the world to quit. If part of you says that I'm going to stay involved in this, then you need to set a high, high standard. If you can go home, blow in her ear, and talk her into it, you'll get what you want in the moment, but you will not get what you want long term. Now, I have some things I want you to do, and then I want you to sit down with a professional. But you should not get back in this relationship with him unless an objective third-party professional evaluates the situation and says he comes to contribute, not contaminate. He comes with values and strength, not weakness and flaws. If you go back now,
No.
you are throwing your kids under the bus.
Yes.
You are throwing yourself under the bus. You've got to get yourself ready, and I will help you to do that if you will take the help.
Yeah.
Will you do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm telling you not to reconcile at this point because it is a fool's journey to do so.
No, I wouldn't reconcile at this point anyway.
Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.